Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. We are here in full force. Eric, Le, and Brian are in the house tonight. Brian is currently on mute, but we are going to talk about our draft. Man, the draft is such a long event, and I really wish that there were two rounds the first night, but you know, I enjoyed it though. Eric, what'd you think?
No, I'm good with the one round the first night. I got a bedtime. I can't mess with my bedtime too much. It already went late, so I'm okay with it being stretched out over 3 days. I think it's just right. I enjoyed it. I got to watch most of it. Saturday was a little bit of a slog because I had some work to do, but I enjoyed it as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, it just when you're picking 16 and it's 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, there's got to be a faster way. I think I would love to see them like reduce the amount of time for picks too. I feel like that's so
It used
absurd.
to
The
be
amount of,
15.
it
It
did,
used to be
which was
15 minutes.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You just have to be able to work faster. Brian, what do you think about the whole draft experience?
I love the draft. I may not love some of the picks that we got, but I love the draft. You spend a lot of time, or I do, watching college football, and you get used to some of these names, and then you start reading scouting reports. You watch other games of these players, and you're like, "Oh, this guy could help us. Oh, this guy would be great." And then it's kind of cool to see where they go, right? Like, this guy goes to another team. We interviewed Thomas Income, edge rusher, defensive end, Central Michigan. He goes undrafted, but he signs with the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos got high expectations. So it's kind of cool to see, where some of these players go. And then I saw today a headline that they may expand the draft. They may add some more rounds. So I love it. I want them to bring it here to DC because I think that'd be cool to get to go to one of those.
Yeah, I think it would be cool too. I just got to have it in the right place, right venue. I think they had what 60,000 or something like that at the draft, or
Yeah,
whatever.
they
It
had
might
a,
have
it was
been
a
more
big
than that.
crowd out in Kansas City, out in the heartland.
Yeah, yeah. The draft party that the Commanders threw the next day, I heard that was off the chain.
Oh,
I was supposed to go with my guy Rick, and I totally had kids sports that Saturday, so I couldn't make it out there to hang out with him. But shout out to Rick because he was there. I saw the pictures. Rick, man, what's up? Let's see. Shout out to everybody else that we know person that's listening. All our guys. So, all right. Before we jump into what the Commanders did, Eric, was there anything that another team did that you were like, dang, I wish we would have done that during the draft, especially the first couple of rounds?
Yeah, the Giants took the best center in the draft. That's kind of irritating because we passed on him. That bugs me um, a lot, but it is what it is. That's what happened, and that's what we got to live with. John Michael Schmitz. Not that I don't like Stromberg. I think he's going to be fine. I just think Schmitz would have been the best choice for this team. They thought otherwise, so that irks me a little bit. But I do like it for the Giants because that's a great pick for them. They needed offensive line upgrades, and they got a good one right there in the middle.
Yeah, they did. They did. Brian, what about you? What's a pick that another team made that you're like, dang, I wish we would have done that?
Eric stole that first one there. That one was a huge, glaring one. But I'll go. I'll go with one. The Detroit Lions. I dislike the Detroit Lions a lot, but they got Detroit. Got Jack Campbell, middle linebacker, and for as long as Ron has been here, he's always complained about the linebackers not being physical enough, not taking on the run and things like that. And well, that's the guy. That was the guy. That was your prototypical middle linebacker that you could stick in the middle and he could direct traffic and know where everything is and go in and play physical in the run. And I thought he would have probably helped our defense out so much, allowed Jamin Davis to use more of his athletic ability and not just kind of be pigeonholed into, all right, you've got to play the run and being a middle linebacker. So I thought he could have helped, but 18 overall was a little high for me, but hey, they got their guy. So, hopefully it works out because I like him. I thought he was a good player.
Yeah, I like what the Dolphins did at pick 84. They got Devin A-Chain, just a lightning fast running back out of Texas A&M. Through our mocks, he was a guy that we were picking or felt like would be a good opportunity there. I thought I also the linebacker from Texas, Brian, you mentioned linebacker, DeMarvion
Overshawn.
Good God Almighty, he went at pick 90 to Dallas. I hated them getting him.
Yep.
I would love to have him here. And trust me, there's several others throughout the draft. Eric, let's talk about what do you think we missed on really drafting? Like, we didn't really cover it as much as we'd like.
Not secondary. Yeah, I mean, we missed obviously, like we said, center. We didn't miss on center because again, I like Stromberg, but we passed up a better option for center. Tight end, didn't pick a tight end. I would have liked to have seen them grab somebody, even though like Dallas took Will Mallory like way too high. Zach Kuntz was out there for a long time. He can go to like round 5 or 6. And there were options in the draft, and we kind of bypassed that. Didn't get a third quarterback, which I thought was weird. I did think that they would, in like round 6 or 7, they'd grab just somebody, but so many went early. Like, so many quarterbacks went in the mid rounds. There really wasn't good value there. So I don't know if that was a miss or if that was just not, not a quarterback not falling to the team where they thought, they had them slotted. Because man, they were drafting, they were going off like crazy in the like rounds 2, 3, 4, 5. They were just taking quarterbacks everywhere. So I don't know if that was a miss or just a patient draft strategy that didn't pan out. And yeah, outside of that, yeah, who knows? We didn't really need another wide receiver, didn't really need another running back, but we grabbed one. Didn't take any defensive tackles, which I think is a huge oversight. Like, how could a Ron Rivera team not take a defensive tackle? So yeah, there were, definitely, I think, tight end, in my opinion, was a big miss. And again, we missed out on a really, really, really good center. And offensive tackle, really didn't grab one of those either. So there's a couple things we should have or could have looked at that we didn't go for.
Yeah. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, the first, obvious thing is offensive line. We talked about all last year how bad the offensive line was, right? Hey, you gambled on a old broke down Andrew Norwell, Trey Turner, and that gamble blew up in your face. And that was the thing we thought, hey, we're going to upgrade the offensive line, and we don't do it. We pick some guys. I think Stromberg is fine. I think he has a chance to compete for the starting job, but Braden Daniels looks very much to be potentially a development type guard. And in a year where it's important for Ron to produce, to pick a development guard when you could have gotten a starting guard, probably one of the better interior guards in the second round, whether it's Avila, whether it's Osiris Torrance. There's a couple other guys there as well too. That was a little disappointing. And then edge rusher, I think we got a good one. I think KJ Henry's a really good guy who has some ability, and he'll certainly get some playing time. I thought maybe we probably could have taken one higher. Because of the importance. We essentially have no defensive end who's going to be on the roster past this season. I think they're all like contracts are up after this season, which is kind of weird. I thought they could have taken another one a little bit higher, but really offensive line's the biggest thing for me. You got more defensive backs. Hey, it's a passing league. You need it. But I think that was a missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think for me, it's tight end. I really don't understand the analytics, the equation they used. Eric Bieniemy is coming from an offense there where their best player, aside from the quarterback, is Travis Kelce. And that offense really thrived when Travis Kelce was at full force. I think there's a stat out there about Patrick Mahomes' record when Travis Kelce doesn't play or something like that, right? It hasn't been much, but it hasn't been good either, I don't believe. For them to not address the tight end position to get better at that position, not just younger, not just more athletic, but better and healthier, there's literally zero guarantee or anything close to it that Logan Thomas is going to make it through the season. He hasn't, right, for the last couple of years. He's been banged up. At the end of last year, he looked really slow when he was on the field. I don't know why they just did not opt to do something about that position, because there were 7 or 8 tight ends that you could have thought would have made some kind of impact. And yes, I do stick to the methodology that tight end is and Doc Walker said it, it's the most difficult position to transition to out of college because you have to learn 2 positions at one time, offensive line, right, and receiver. And so I get it, but there were some tight ends that could have given you something, at least some insurance when Logan Thomas goes out. Yes, we had Cole Turner, didn't see anything from him last year. Yes, we had Bates, nothing from him last year. Yes, we had who's the other kid? The guy that transitioned
Hodges,
quarterback. Rogers, right?
Amani Rogers, Curtis Hodges. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are guys. They're just guys. I mean, Amani Rogers looked great in preseason, had a catch or two in the regular season. It's cool. Get a guy, especially as important as that position is in Bieniemy's offense, which sort of made me think to myself, I wonder if Bieniemy's offense isn't going to be drastically different than what the Chiefs do.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, and that's which is not something I really accounted for up until now. And because you think with what he's doing and where he's coming from, and I don't want to get into a Bieniemy conversation tonight, but it's like he was the offensive coordinator in Kansas City, and you sort of expect him to sort of bring that same offense here. I think now, based on how they handle the draft and everything like that, it's going to pivot to a completely different direction. That's probably going to look closer to what we've already seen last year. And then you start to think about what Ron Rivera was saying in the offseason. He wants to be a run-first team. He's looking for a run-first offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur, those guys. Now it starts to make sense, but I just really would love to have seen them address that in the draft.
And Ron's reasoning is there is no reason behind the tight end thing. Like I've heard him say, and he said it on multiple things, is that they just believe in their guys and that they think that they'll be healthy. And I'm like, you're just hoping that. That's literally his reasoning, is that he believes in them, and he's just hoping that they get healthy and pan out. And that's nice. I guess that's one of Ron's good qualities, but it's also probably one of his biggest flaws. He's a little bit too loyal, and he's too loyal past the point of, okay, we've got to make that hard choice of it's time to move on. It's time to bring someone else in, kind of that we're going to stick with Landon Collins for way too long type deal.
Yeah. Logan Thomas. And Landon Collins when he was at safety, and then Troy Apke when he was at corner, and those guys. So yeah, definitely. All right. The draft picks by the Commanders, pick 16, Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback, Mississippi State. Round 2, pick 47, Jatavius Martin. He goes by, starts with the Q, right? Quan Martin, safety, Illinois. Round 3, pick 97, Ricky Stromberg, center, Arkansas. Round 4, pick 118, Braden Daniels, offensive line, Utah. Round 5, pick 137, KJ Henry, edge, Clemson. Round 6, pick 193. Good Lord. Chris Rodriguez Jr. out of Kentucky, the running back. Round 7, pick 233, Andre Jones, linebacker, Louisiana. And Eric, which of these picks were you like, what are we doing?
Quan in the second round. I think I may be on a kick here about that second round pick, and nothing against Quan. I'm sure he's going to be a fine defensive back. That was a weird pick. The Forbes pick, a lot of people think the Forbes pick, I believe, was a little bit of a reach. Not the pick that I would have made at that spot, but I get it. I understand why they did it. The best offensive tackles were all gone by that point. They liked Forbes better than they liked Gonzalez. So whatever, it's fine. I like Gonzalez a little more than I like Forbes, but I like Forbes a lot. So I have no problem with that. But the second round pick, just, I didn't think nickelback was that big of a deal, unless they're really planning on parting ways with Kendall Fuller at some point, like a post-June 1st thing.
Which, by the way, John Keim said that that's not necessarily the case, by the way.
Yeah. I don't think you needed another, because you just brought back Reeves, you've got St. Juste, you've got Fuller, you have Percy Butler back there, you have all these guys that can play safety, slot, corner. You just drafted a corner. To me, it just doesn't make a ton of sense to make that pick. And maybe he's going to be like a, transcendent athlete that's going to dominate the position for years. Who knows? I just think that a center or an interior offensive lineman would have been a better pick at that point based on what you had already taken in the first round. Steve Avila, I think, was already gone by that point. Cyrus Torrance may or may not have been picked. I don't remember exactly where he went.
No,
he was right around that point. Yeah, he went later. So he was there. And then, of course, Schmitz was there. It's a head scratcher for me. I don't know enough about him to. I know I watched a little bit. He does look great. He looked great at Illinois. Illinois had several defensive backs and defensive players get drafted this year, so they were doing something right there clearly. So I'm not going to hate on that pick. I sound like I'm hating on that pick. Maybe I am, but it's a head scratcher for me as far as like we had already taken a defensive back. We took another defensive back when we have a glaring need at the interior offensive line position, and there were guys available. At 16, Torrance or Schmitz would have been just as big, if not a bigger reach than Forbes. But at 47, with both those guys on the board, and you still take a defensive back, that one just to me doesn't make a ton of sense. But we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe those guys are garbage, and this dude's going to be amazing. I don't know, but it's weird to me.
Yeah, Ron has a tendency to draft for depth in the second round. We saw it last year with Fidarian Mathis. Now, I'm a traits guy. Jartavius Quan Martin is 100% a traits dude. Like his testing is off the charts. But I tend to agree with it. It's a luxury pick at that point. And in the second round, you're looking to fill major holes, right? Like there's issues there that we need to address. Brian, what about you? What pick made you go, huh?
Yeah, so I agree with both of you guys. That second round pick was like that was it, because there were guys similar to Jatavius you could have gotten in the seventh round. Antonio Johnson Jr. went to Green Bay, similar type guy, converted corner, slot corner, safety, like somebody like that. You could have gotten later. But, for me is, hey, you get Ricky Strongberg. Okay, fine, great. You finally took one in the third round. But the fourth round, you get Braden Daniels, a guy who's really a development type of guard tackle prospect. You had the opportunity to get guys who could come in and compete day one, if not just be the day one starter, because they had that level of talent. You passed on all of those guys for a guy that may not even, be able to compete with a Sadiq Charles, who's been only a backup. I just thought that was just such a missed opportunity, such kind of a wasted pick. And that's not to say Braden Daniels doesn't turn out to be probably one of the better offensive linemen that we'll ever see, because he very well could. It seems like, he's going to need time. He's not going to be a day one starter. And when you have an offensive line that was as bad as it is, and that needs so many holes to be filled, to be getting a guy who's a more developmental prospect than somebody who could come in and compete now was a real big head scratcher and a little disappointing. So that was a little odd for me.
Yeah, the offensive line is going to be a story throughout the entire season, whether it plays well or if it plays poorly. It's just not going to, go away. I mean, even at the end of the year, like a lot of the sacks were attributed to like Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke holding on to the ball. But even in the last game, Howell was sacked 3 times on 19 dropbacks. Like it's not like this was like a fantastic performance, regardless of who was at quarterback. Definitely something that needed to be addressed. The pick for me, though, and I agree with what you guys are saying, but I think the running back in the 6th round, and it's not the fact that they took a running back, it's the kind of running back that they took, really just sort of was very curious to me. I know from all of the reports, Eric Bieniemy is mile high on this guy. And I keep trying to watch tape on YouTube or highlights to get it. I don't get it right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't understand what he sees in him. The guy is straight ahead. It's like a head down, straight ahead, just going to push the pile forward kind of guy. But we already got that in Brian Robinson Jr. You know what I mean? Now, I will say he's probably a little bit more effective at getting out of the backfield than Robinson Jr. was last year, especially at the beginning. We saw a lot of Robinson running into the back of guys. He got better at that as the year went on. I think this Rodriguez kid is more natural at that. But Robinson is a little bit more explosive in getting to the outside. And Robinson's not a particularly explosive running back. So then I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know what this guy's bringing to the table that can help us. I hope to find out, and I hope it's really great. But I just keep trying to convince myself by what's out there on YouTube. And I keep coming back to it. I'm like, man, what is he going to provide that we couldn't have got from like a Jared Patterson or a Brian Robinson or something like that, when I thought the supreme need was a home run hitting running back. And we were having this argument on Twitter with a lot of people this week. Gibson is a good running back. You cannot argue that he's a home run hitting running back because his longest rush last year was 28 yards. He hasn't had a run over 40 yards since his rookie year. That's not a home run hitting running back. So we don't have that on the route. Now we got some young guys that I think we picked up later undrafted, and we'll see what's up with that. But I just felt like this backfield needed electricity and not necessarily thunder. We needed the lightning, not the thunder part of it, but we didn't get that.
I
You
wonder.
want to know why Bieniemy likes him so much? Go watch some tape of Bieniemy in college.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was a battering ram running back.
Yeah.
I think he was probably better than Gonzalez, but he was. Yeah, I mean, that's Bieniemy was that kind of running back. But yeah, it lends to what we were kind of talking about earlier with Bieniemy as far as like the kind of offense that he's going to install. I don't think it's going to be an Andy Reid offense at all. I think it's going to have Andy Reid type concepts here and there, but it's very much going to be a run first, closer to like what a Mike Holmgren offense would look like than the typical Andy Reid offense. Don't know where he got it from because I don't think he ever worked for Holmgren, but that's the kind of scheme it seems like he's going to be implementing. But I like the Gonzalez pick actually. I get what they're doing. They just really want to hammer teams, and now they have Gonzalez and Robinson with Gibson, painting the corners. It could look interesting, and I think you're going to see, as much as the idea of it makes us all cringe, I think you're going to see some Curtis Samuel runs next year as well. And you're going to see wide receivers, with the running back. That's the kind of stuff I think he's going to borrow from Andy Reid, where he's going to take a guy at like a Mecole Hardman type role. And that's, he's going to have a guy running out of the backfield as a wide receiver. So it's going to look like that. But again, I like the Gonzalez pick. I kind of see what they're going for with it. It's just, it's going to be very much an offense that's going to protect the quarterback with the run game and look for home run plays, which is what, Sam Howell does. And I think Gonzalez helps that.
Yeah, I think if I see another Curtis Samuel run, my head might explode.
Yeah. You're ready. It's coming.
Yeah, hopefully there's not too many of those.
Hopefully there won't be double reverses that take 4 seconds in the backfield to develop. But
yeah, exactly.
You'll see them.
But what I was thinking though, is I think this might help Gibson, with the Rodriguez thing, because Gibson is going to be any type of running back who's going to catch passes, any running back who's going to be schemed open in terms of being put in space. Like the Chiefs they traded for, I think, Kadarius Toney last year, and the Giants really wanted Kadarius Toney to be that kind of playmaker, somebody who could just create and be that big explosive play, almost home run hitter. The problem was, right, he doesn't really have the vision to create some of those plays. He needs to be schemed open, and the Giants could just never do that. Well, he goes to Kansas City, and all of a sudden, he gets a handful of plays, and he's schemed open, and he's creating big plays. And I think that's something that Gibson is going to benefit from. And he'll catch a lot of these running back swing passes or these quick passes where they're almost an extension of the run game. So I think he's going to really kind of thrive in that type of role. And yeah, I think you guys nailed it. I think, Rodriguez and B-Rob are going to be these two bowling balls just trying to wear teams down. And then you hit Gibson up with these quick swing passes and moving him out of the backfield. And all of a sudden now you've got matchup issues and things like that. And you make it things a lot simpler for the quarterback. So, at first I didn't quite get it because Ellie, you were right. Like Rodriguez is kind of similar to Brian Robinson. So I was thinking a home run type hitter at running back, but I think it could work out, but we'll see. Best laid plans end up not having to always work out.
Yeah. The issue with Rodriguez is he doesn't catch the football, and Robinson did a little bit last year, but it wasn't any. So you tend to know what's going on when they're in the game. And so they got the kid out of UCLA. What was his name? Kashmir Allen or whatever. I think he's more in that role of the Mecole Hardman, I think, of what you're talking about, Eric, if he makes the roster. Yeah. I think that's who fills that role. I don't pretend to know what Bieniemy is thinking right now, but I just think that we got 100 different flavors of the same thing. And even with what Gibson's been since he's been since his rookie year 2 and on, he's been the same type of running back as Robinson as well, and that Rodriguez has been. So it's just all straight ahead. Now, I thought that was the scheme that Scott Turner was doing that was limiting these guys, but it seems like they want more of it. And I think, we're going to play low margin of error, pound the football kind of football that we saw last year, just maybe I don't know, maybe a more excited pass game built on top of it. I don't know. But I think this draft definitely gave some clues and insights into that. All right. Enough about the what we didn't like stuff. Let's get into what we loved. Eric, favorite pick in the draft that we made?
It's so much fun to be negative. That's the problem. I really enjoy the negativity. A lot of it is that I didn't love any of our draft picks like at the time we made them. I'm going to go with Forbes though, because Forbes has kind of been my guy all off season. And I do think, I don't know if he's ever going to do enough to make people that already hate him like him. I don't know if he's ever going to be that guy outside of like leading the league in interceptions his first year, but he's going to be a good player for this team. And I'm excited to watch him because people get hung up on the weight. He plays tough. He plays big. He has not yet been injured. There's no reason to think that's going to start. I don't think he's not he doesn't have that snake bit type, he hasn't thus far. He's going to make plays for this team. He's an opportunistic quarterback. He's a film junkie. Yeah. And I'm excited to watch him. And had we picked him, had we been able to trade back and get him at like 28 and pick up a second round pick, that would have been even better. But the fact that, nobody was calling for trades, all the best offensive linemen were gone. It was basically a choice between him and Gonzalez for this team at that spot. They picked Forbes. And I'm going to roll with it. I like the pick. I've liked him all off season, and I'm glad he's here, and I'm excited to see him play this year.
Yeah, I can dig it. I think he's going to be great too. I think what he's going to do is test people's patience, though, with some of the plays that he gives up because of his aggressiveness. Brian, favorite pick from the draft?
Yeah, I will have to say I was not super happy with the Forbes pick, not because I didn't think he was a good player. I just thought maybe there were some other guys ahead of him that we could have gone after. But after thinking about it now, listening to some interviews from his coaches, some more, watching him, he is very much a player who prepares, to play well, right? It's not just hey, I'm going to gamble on this route and see what happens type of player, and then he comes up with an interception. No, he knows what he's doing. He knows that the receiver out of this formation, if he goes in motion, is going to run certain types of routes. Certain teams are going to run certain types of routes depending on down and distance. So he's prepared, and that's why he's able to make the plays on the football and intercept them, because he's put that work in, he's put that time in. So that's something I appreciate. But I really like the KJ Henry. I think I've been saying for the past 2 seasons now, we need better edge rush depth. Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, and even unfortunately our starters, Chase Young and Montez Sweat, just don't put enough pressure coming off the edge on opposing quarterbacks. We need to get better at it. We got 2 studs in the middle, but that's about it. And I think KJ is going to be a guy who, given more reps, more snaps, can absolutely provide some of that additional pass rush. He was kind of overshadowed at Clemson by Miles Murphy, another player who edge rusher who went a lot earlier than him. But I think we'll see. I think we'll see some good stuff from him because they rotate their defensive end, so he'll get a lot of playing time.
That'll tell you what kind of coaches we have what kind of an edge rusher coach Ryan Kerrigan is, because if you watch Henry play and even the limited time he have, you can see that it's there. He hasn't put it together yet, but he has all the tools. He has everything he needs to be a great edge rusher. It's just got to be brought out of him. So if our defensive line coaches are worth anything, they can bring that out of him, and he's going to be, he could end up being a star. Honestly, he could be a really, really good player.
Exactly. And did y'all see his dad's a lifelong Washington fan? And the night before the draft, his mom had a dream that he was going to get drafted by Washington. So how can you not
his dad broke out the Trotter jersey on draft day.
Jeremy Trotter. Yeah.
The only one left.
Yeah. The 4 that were sold, he had one.
Yeah, I like the actual 7th round pick. I'm not a person that thinks that he's going to make the roster or do great things. I think there's some talent there. I think he can develop. Andre Jones, a linebacker out of Louisiana. His physical profile is extremely good. Now you got to learn the concept of the NFL and be able to do it against NFL tackles. I think he's purely a depth guy, but I like what he brings to the table in terms of physical profile for where he was taken. So that's my favorite. I mean, the draft was really what it was, like a moderate ceiling but very high floor kind of draft, so not a lot to get excited about, especially with what some other teams were doing and moving and shaking and all that kind of stuff. I think overall the picks are good. I just think, we can argue the conversation about value. All right, Eric, you gave your thoughts on Forbes. Brian, I think you gave your thoughts on Forbes. What I will say to him, the comp I'm seeing coming out more and more and more is Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, and I like that comp. 30 picks over 11 seasons, 7 touchdowns. Cromartie had some really good years with the Jets, and then he had some years where he wasn't that great, injuries, loss of focus, whatever. I think Forbes is going to bring a level of excitement to the secondary that we haven't had in a very long time, since probably D'Angelo Hall, to where any play could turn, the tide of the game for us. But I'm looking forward to that. Quan Martin. Eric, I know you said you didn't love the pick, but what do you think about him as a player now that he's here?
No, I don't like the pick. I like the player. You said it yourself. He's an athletic, just monster. And that's the kind of guy you need playing slot. I honestly haven't had a chance to watch a ton of him. As long as they can teach him to play disciplined football with his athleticism, he could be a legit a boon to the secondary. And if you can rotate him between safety and slot corner, that's even better. You've got that position flex that everybody loves to talk about. So, yeah, it's nothing against him as a player. The pick just was a head scratcher to me, but I don't want that to affect like the way that I view him as a player. He was very productive in college, and I got nothing against him. I hope he has a lot of picks this year, and I'll watch more of him. I'm sure we'll do a declassified on him at some point here. And I'll get more familiar with him. But yeah, I don't hate the pick at all. It's just, or I kind of hate the pick, but I don't hate the player at all.
I heard I heard something that made me feel a little bit better about the pick, but even then, it was still not enough, or not good enough. Reason is, I heard a lot of the local beat reporters say that he was picked to help take some of the pressure off Cam Curl and save some of the wear and tear from him having to Cam Curl, to have him play Buffalo nickel, strong safety, come down and play linebacker, be up in the box constantly. And it somewhat makes a little bit of sense, right? You saw the drastic difference the defense looked when Curl was on the field, and then when he went off, like we couldn't cover a soul as soon as he went off of the field. So I can understand that a little bit, but to draft a guy second just to take pressure off another guy doesn't necessarily seems to be the right idea. But I did hear that, and I was like, okay, if that helps, another better player starter on your team, I guess so.
Well, if he has the football IQ of Curl, then great. I'm fine with the pick at that point.
Yeah.
If he can come in and with that level of maturity and play like that right away, absolutely, that's a great pick. Then, I just don't know.
Yeah, I like him. I like the pick. He's very physical. He reminds me. He can play. They said free safety. He reminds me a lot more of Derek Forrest than he does Cam Curl with the way that he attacks the football. Now this is on college tape against Middle Western, mid-city state or whatever. So we got to see him what he looks like in camp.
Hey, he was Big Ten. They got teams out there.
The highlights I saw, he wasn't playing against some of the bigger Big Ten teams. So that's all I'm saying. I'm sure there's some out there.
Except when they played Laporta from Iowa, and he just kind of ran through all of those Illinois DBs.
Yeah. Who was Forbes the cornerback that got ate up by somebody in college? Who was it?
Devontae Smith torched him, but that was the year that Devontae Smith won the Heisman, and Forbes was a true freshman.
Yeah. Okay.
But come back the next year, and Forbes locked down Jameson Williams when they played. So the improvement is there. But yeah, I did go back and watch that, and it was bad. But again, it was, he's a true freshman playing against the Heisman Trophy winner that was getting ready to go, in the number one, the first round in the NFL draft. So I don't put too much stock in that. He did play really well the last couple of years, and even he got beat early on a couple times against Georgia, but he had a pretty solid game after the early. He had an early penalty and got picked on a little bit, but he settled down, and he actually had a pretty good game for the most part against Georgia last year too.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And Martin, I think, is going to be good for us. I agree with Brian. I don't like depth picks with the second round pick that Ron keeps doing.
Ron loves it.
But hey, it is what it is. All right, Stromberg, Eric, center, Arkansas. Love it or hate it?
Love it. I don't like it. Would have liked Schmitz in the second round, but I've said that 100 times already. Stromberg is going to be fine. I think he's the starting center. If not at the beginning of the year, by midseason, he's a starting center, and hopefully he's a starting center for a long time. He's got it there. I think he probably needs to get a little stronger. That's his main deal. Barry, they say he's got a very natural feel for angles, which is fantastic for a center. And he makes all the calls. He's been doing that. Played a lot in college, so I'm very confident in him. I don't know that he's going to be like, the best center in the NFL, but I think he'll be a solid NFL starter for a long time, as long as he's healthy, and that's exactly what this team needs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard to gauge with centers, I feel like, because I feel like all centers look good on tape. And then you just got to see what they look like when they're
Until you
facing
see a
you
bad
up.
one.
Yeah.
You get Josh Laribus in there, then you know how important center is.
Or what was the other kid, the fifth rounder we got a couple years ago? Shoot.
Keith Ishmael.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I mean, but see, that's the same thing. Same profile. He's physical. He's a dog. He finishes his blocks. Well, he can't start his blocks.
He can't remember the snap count, man.
Yeah.
Not going to be a good center.
That was a 2020 draft. I think it's just it's just Chase left out of that 2020 draft or something like
Jason Curl, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I like Ricky Stromberg. I had him third, I think. Yeah. Schmitz and Tippmann, I think, were the top two, and then you drop down into the next tier, and it was the Michigan center and Ricky Stromberg. And I think Eric's right. If he doesn't get the job day one, he'll have it at some point during the season because he's that good. He's that smart. He may need to adjust a little bit to the strength of some of these defensive linemen, but he played in the SEC, right? 2 years ago, he was blocking that behemoth Jordan Davis, who's on the Eagles, which he's going to have to block again here this season, most likely. So, and he did just fine in those games against Georgia. So he's got a lot of experience. He was the Jacobs Blocking Trophy Award winner for best blocker in the SEC this past year. So he's no slouch, and at the very least, he's healthy, which we haven't had a healthy center in a very long time.
Yep, and that was our compensatory pick, by the way. Braden
Props to
Daniels
you for pronouncing that word correctly because I can't.
Yeah, yep. I appreciate it. Braden Daniels, Utah lineman. Eric?
To be continued. I think he's a guy that you'll hear press people talk about how like talented he is and what a great player, and you'll never see him on the field like that dude we drafted last year, Chris Paul. I'm sure it'll be great to hear how great he's doing in practice, but I'd like to see him on the field. I doubt we will.
Yeah, fourth round lineman, Garon Christensen. Christian, whatever his name was. That's where that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know anything about Braden Daniels. I don't expect much from him. Brian, you've sort of articulated that you don't either. He's a developmental player at this point, so not a lot to really count on there. Hey, it's a wash to me. If he gives us something great, would I have liked to see them go in a different direction at that pick? Absolutely, because I think there are more surefire players available. But hey, we'll see. Okay. KJ Henry, Brian, I know how you feel about him. Eric, are you on the same train with KJ Henry?
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what he can do. Like I said, if he can get the talent brought out of him by our coaching staff, you could have a really special player.
Yeah. I love that he came from Clemson, big time school, big time program, played in big time games. It's a fifth round pick, edge. He's a depth guy. You already know that, but I just think with the way they like to rotate D linemen, he's going to see the field, right? And in meaningful snaps. So what better college to get a guy from that's going to play meaningful snaps than Clemson? We talked about Rodriguez Jr. And then Andre Jones, a linebacker at round 7, pick 233. You guys have any thoughts on him?
Is he going to be an edge rusher, or are they trying to make him like a Sam linebacker?
Edge rusher. He's edge depth.
I know I've seen him as like listed as edge, but I've read some like reports where they're talking about him as like a solid outside linebacker, scheme independent and stuff like that. I'm like, I just don't see it as an outside. If he's an edge and he can give us something awesome, it's a 7th rounder, so you never expect a ton. But if he can get on the field and contribute, then it's a win.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I mean, look at James Smith-Williams. He's a 7th round pick, and he basically was in the rotation day one. So I think he absolutely has a chance to get meaningful snaps. Now, what is he going to do with those meaningful snaps? Is he going to actually be able to produce that? I don't know, but he's going to get an opportunity, and hopefully he can provide a little bit more than Casey Toohill or James Smith-Williams, because we certainly need the upgrade in the ability to rush the passer. And I think that's the difference that you've seen with these two guys versus the two that I just mentioned, like Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams. These guys are great. They follow directions. They're going to be able to stop the run more, but they offer nothing in pass rush. KJ Henry has traits to pass rush. This linebacker here, he has traits to pass rush. So I think you're seeing a little bit of a shift in what they're looking for. They want guys who just kind of take up space. They can actually put some moves on a tackle and get to the quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually get some time and what they do with it.
Second year in a row, they've taken a Raging Cajun, by the way. Percy Butler
right.
last year.
That's right.
Jones this year. Yeah.
Right.
They're a feeder for the Washington Commanders now down there in Louisiana.
Hopefully they're not both cut by June. We'll see with Percy Butler. All right. Grades are not a great thing to do. It's hard to tell immediately, but we're going to do it anyway because people that listen to podcasts love them. Eric, grade this draft immediate reaction style. What do you got?
My immediate reaction was C-, but I'm going to give it a B- because I do think they addressed some needs. Not all of them. I didn't agree with all the picks they made, but they were confident in the guys they got. And I see what they're doing. So I'm going to upgrade my initial knee-jerk grade from a C- to a solid B-, borderline C+, but we're going to give them a B-. And I also hate draft grades. So take that for what you will.
B- from Eric. Brian, what's your immediate reaction draft grade?
Immediate act was really bad. It was really low, but upon further reflection, I have raised my grade. I'm going to give it a B. I can't go any higher than that because the offensive linemen, passing on offensive linemen and then selecting the ones that you did where you did, just simply wasn't good enough, and there really kind of was no justification for doing that. But the other guys, I do like the picks. I do like Emmanuel Forbes. I like Jatavius Martin, Quan Martin. I like KJ Henry. Hell, I like Chris Rodriguez. I think he's he's going to be a solid running back to a running back by committee. It'll just be a matter of hey, does the coordinators have a clear defined role for these guys and know how to utilize them? Because too often we don't utilize these guys properly, and then we don't get good results out of them. So hopefully we can put them in good positions to make some plays. So B.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go C+. Every pick they got has a real opportunity to play. Like I said, these are high floor, moderate ceiling guys. So they're at least going to be somewhat decent in the NFL. You probably won't have a lot of just complete busts. But I like what I think it was Bleacher Report or somebody said earlier today, in that this team drafted like it was a Super Bowl team that just had some needs to fill, as opposed to a team that is like the last year of a coaching staff, like desperately trying to fight for their life. And so that's why I give it a C. I think there could have been some things done that really would have elevated it much higher, including, there were linemen that they were talking about they wanted to trade up for. I think Mayhew said that himself. And he's like, oh, we just weren't aggressive enough.
Yeah.
If you're trading in the second round or third round or whatever, dude, get in and get your guy. You know what I'm saying? You're not going from like 42 to pick one overall. Like, I get there's a cost there that you probably can't afford to pay. But if you're moving up in the second round, 8 to 10 picks, and you lose out on a lineman that you factor in as a starter for the next 10 years because you didn't want to give up a sixth round pick, I'm making that up. But, if that's the case, you got to do what you got to do, right, in that particular range. So C+, a few more risk, a few more, a little bit more aggression. I think you probably would have gotten yourself to a B. But all in all, solid guys that'll be there at camp, probably for fighting for second or third, line on the depth chart. But really, really good draft picks overall. Nothing to complain about largely, except for ignoring tight end for me. All right, I got a couple of non-commander picks I want to get your guys' thoughts on. We will start with, let's go, Will Levis going to the Titans. Eric, love it or hate it?
That's a good spot for him. I like it a lot because he can sit and learn, which is what him guys like him, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker could really benefit from is the opportunity to not have to come in and be the guy right away. And he landed in a good spot. He's going to play in an offense that's going to be pretty quarterback friendly, a run heavy offense. So yes, I like that pick for the Titans a lot, especially not taking him in the first round, getting him in round 2. It's even better for them, and it's a good spot for him.
The only thing I don't like about the pick is that I feel like they're just going to reset that franchise entirely next year. And maybe that's the purpose, but why not wait till next year to deeper draft class and get a guy that maybe you like a little bit more, especially after they drafted Willis last year. They have Tannehill 1 more year on his deal. I think after the season is it, right? Yeah. Maybe they just really like Will Levis, but the way he was falling, I didn't really totally get that. I'll be honest with you. Brian, the Cody Mock pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, love it or hate it?
I hate it. I'm not high on Cody Mock as some guys are. People love that he can play, every position on the offensive line. Well, unfortunately, you can only play one position at a time, and you have to be good at one of these said positions, right? And we've seen kind of the negative or the downside of position flex here with Ron, and we've got guys who aren't the size of a tackle and they're getting injured, or they're not the size of a guard and that kind of thing. So I'm not high on them. I thought there were a lot better guard options than Cody Mock, but hopefully it works out for the Bucs.
Yeah, and for me, Seattle taking Zach Charbonnet when you have Kenneth Walker like that. What? I don't know. Doubling up on running backs, man. It's a thing now. But Kenneth Walker was amazing when he was healthy. He was amazing last year. I didn't totally get that. I get you. What about the Maryland DB pick? I'm trying to figure out, where did he go?
Banks. He went to the Giants.
He went to the
Giants. He went to the Giants in the late first.
24. Pick 24.
Yeah. That's an A+ pick for them, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a good pick. Yeah, I like it. I'm not familiar enough. I kind of thought that maybe Joey Porter would be a better pick than Deonte Banks for that defense, because I'm pretty sure Wink Martindale really likes those like in-your-face corners. He likes to blitz so much that he needs those man corner type guys, and I think maybe Joey Porter might have been a better pick. But I like Deonte Banks. I wouldn't mind having seen him here. So I'm not going to give it an A+ because it's the Giants. I'll give it a B+ because it's the Giants, and I think Porter was for me. I would have gone Porter with the limited knowledge I have of what they really do on their defense.
Yeah, agreed. Brian, Hendon Hooker, Tennessee. What do you think? I mean, sorry, Detroit.
Where did you go?
Detroit, yeah.
I was like, damn, him and Levis in Tennessee. No, I love it. I think he needs the year to get healed up and to kind of learn that system. But he's going to be a leader there day one. I know Goff is still relatively young and coming off a good season, but eventually they're going to need to move on from him, because I don't think they're going to pay him another big contract or anything like that. So that's a great place for him. And being that he's a little bit older, the Lions are, a franchise similar to ours, where they've had a lot of down times. And when you're the quarterback of a franchise like that, it's a lot more heavyweight than, some other places that you could be a quarterback of. So I think he would be a perfect fit for those guys. And again, he doesn't have to play right away either.
Yeah. The Eagles got Keely Ringo at pick 105 out of Georgia. In the 4th round, the Eagles got Olivari, the lineman, right? Like the Eagles just somehow were going shopping at stores we couldn't go to or something like that. Like we were shopping at Walmart and they had the key card to Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm like, my gosh.
Well, Keely Ringo is the Walmart version of Joey Porter. So,
well, yes, that's fair.
He's the round 4 version of Porter. I don't know. The Eagles, look, they had a good. I mean, from the outside, they had a good draft, but the level of love that they're getting from the media is a little ridiculous now. It's like they could have drafted like Timmy from South Park in round 5, and
that's
ESPN
the best.
Would be like Howie Roseman playing chess, right? Like I don't know if these guys are going to turn out, but it's like, oh, you just picked all the Georgia players. Good job.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Well,
is it
they
really
got
that?
Jalen Carter.
Are you really doing that great of a job, or are you just like picking guys from Georgia?
We did with Alabama, right? But they got Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen. Sidney Brown, Keely Ringo, Tanner McKee, who cares, and Moro Ojimo. So anyway, it was a eventful night. I think we're better now than we were before. The question is how much, and then how much has the offense improved since we didn't really attack it early in the draft. Time will tell. We'll be back soon with some declassified episodes on some of these draft picks. And I think with that, we're out of here. So thanks for listening. Make sure you're subscribed, stay locked in, and we will catch you on the flip side. Peace.